Oh, 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 oh. Welcome to Meaningful Mornings. Recently, I was cleaning out our coffee drawer, and we have this small cup that Sheila uses for espresso. So Shuka saw this, and he wanted to drink something out of this. So Sheila put some oat milk in there. And he was pretending that he was drinking his espresso, and it was so hot, and, and so on. And he dropped some, and he felt so bad. So he kept on saying, "Sorry, oatmeal milk. Sorry, oatmeal milk." I share this with you because what is Meaningful Mornings? It is to encourage intention. See how we're all born with intention. And then we forget that. In the Ramayana, Sri Rama tells Devi Shabari, she is an illiterate villager, that the only relationship that I endorse, that I accept, is one of love. His point being to her that I endorse you, I accept you, I love you. If we reflect upon this and don't take it for granted, whatever we love or whomever we love, all we do is for that, is for them. Shri Krishna has observed in the past, present, future, that we lack love in our lives. And so he's encouraging us to love purpose, to love a purpose in all that you do. More tactically, that would be evolution. To have a love for evolution in all that you do. More evolved than this is a love for presence. In a more tactile way, this would be existence. To not take for granted all that is existing must have the foundation of existence. If we follow this, we will stop loving, and here, this could be felt more as stop depending on experiences. Right now, we love and depend on experiences for happiness, but we'll stop that. We'll stop the same with these equipments. I have a body, I am not the body. We will stop loving and depending on the ego. It is the most significant enemy of humanity, of creation. Shri Krishna has shared the vision that we are to experience in chapter 4, verse 24. The Drishti Yajna. And in verses 25 to now 30, which we're about to approach, he has shared changes we can make in our lifestyle. Sometimes more outwardly, like being careful about what sense objects you put into the sense organs. But more so, it is not about changing one's lifestyle, but about changing the why. Generally, I'm going to go through all the yajnas and the sign what part of us this yajna relates to. The Deva Yajna relates to the body. Brahma Yajna, the ego. Indriya Yajna, body. Anything relating to the senses is for the body. The Atma Yajna, that's also for the body. Dravya Yajna is for our lifestyle. Possessions, to be more disciplined with that. The Tapa Yajna is for the mind. Yoga Yajna for the intellect. Swadhyaya Yajna for the ego. Jnana Yajna for the ego. And the last two, number 11 and 12, that is Prana Yajna and Anna Yajna. I will elaborate. Therefore, the breath. So every one of these practices relates to an experience, that is the lifestyle, or to the equipments, that is what we're engaging our lifestyle in. And all of this is to push the offerer, that is the ego, to presence. The last practices I shared with you for Swadhyaya Yajna, listen carefully. Not only to others, but to yourself. When you listen carefully to yourself, you will accept yourself, and only where there's acceptance can there be adaptation or growth. But if I don't accept I have these weaknesses, I'll never grow out of them. For Jnana Yajna, it was to unitask routine. Whenever we unitask, the mind is quieter. I find it humorous that after our Jnana Yajnas, like our discourse series, that people are still interested in a prasad, a book, a fruit, etc. Jnana is a self-reward. When the mind is quiet, you're rewarding yourself. That is the prasada. And if we're still interested in that prasada, that means we've not tuned in to that jnana. And prana yajna. Prana yajna was to walk daily, whether it's raining, whether it's snowing. Vivek, we do it in our mind. You're teaching us to be intentional. Then I'll intentionally teach you meaningful mornings starting on Monday, okay? You just visualize that I'm teaching this to you. Walk daily. The 11th yajna I'm reviewing is offering our physiology to discipline. Prana doesn't just mean breath. Breath is a very overt sign of our physiology, but it is physiology to discipline. More technically, what the verse shares is that some offer the outgoing breath into the incoming breath. That essentially is breathing in, okay? Others offer the incoming breath to the outgoing breath. That essentially is breathing out. And in between all of this, what's happening? Kumbhaka, which means we're holding our breath. When I breathe in, I don't breathe out right away. There's a period where I'm holding this in. How we can relate to this yajna, because it seems very physiological and technical. Prana yajna can start with deep breathing. During your day, at some point, engage in deep breathing. More evolved than this, subtler, is to watch your breathing. The difference between deep breathing and watching your breathing is there's less control. As long as you control your breath, that's the only place you will stay. And more evolved, this is almost causal, is to enjoy breathing. Enjoying breathing is where you're not identified with your breathing, which means you can go deeper, correct? To the mind and so on. Sri Ramana in Upadesha Sara has shared, there is power in pranayama, which is deep breathing. However, all this will lead to is jada samadhi, which means you'll be absorbed in that which is inert, lifeless. So whatever experience you have will be temporary. Whereas jnana samadhi is where you're absorbed into the insight that I am more than my ego. And that is transformative. It is forever. I'm trying to put pranayama in its place because you will observe organizations and teachers that focus on asana. They're the most popular. Next in line is those who focus on breathing techniques. Next in line is those that focus on mantras. I give you a mantra, then I tie a string around your wrist and so on. What is holding us back from joy is the ego. And I've shared with all of you that the ego expresses in the intellect. What is special about Chinmaya Mission is the focus on jnana, or knowledge, because it directly addresses the ego. But see, that's the least popular. It is much easier to manipulate my body than it is to manipulate my ego. So I'm putting pranayama in its place because if you want independent joy, you have to do more than asana, pranayama, mantra. It must be jnana based. Verse 30. And this is the final verse in this flow of yajnas, a very practical verse. Every verse is practical. Apare niyata haraha pranan praneshu juhvati sarve pyete yajna vidaha yajna kshapita kalmashaha. Focusing just on the first line, because that's where the yajna is. The second line is the reward or the phala of these yajnas that will carry over to next week. Apare, that means others. In almost every verse, this word is here, showing that there's many practices because there's many types of people. Niyata ahara, healthy food. Niyata means regulated or responsible, healthy food. Pranan praneshu juhvati, they offer this to their pranamaya kosha, which means their physiology. Okay? This is the 12th practice. It is entitled Anna Yajna, where eating is offered to discipline. And it's almost like Sri Krishna wanted us to learn this during Thanksgiving weekend. That instead of turkey, tofurkey. Yes? Yes. Okay. Let me share some insights and then we'll complete our class this morning. Yatha anna, tatha mana. Which in English means, you are what you eat. See how that's sourced from? Sanskrit, yatha anna, tatha mana. And specifically, every food has 3 qualities to it. If I eat an apple, the tamasic or grossest part of this apple, when I eat that, I will also defecate, as in my body will expel that. The rajasic aspect of every food becomes this body. And the sattvic part, that is the subtlest part of food, what will that become? My mind. So some parts goes back into the environment, some becomes this body, some becomes this mind. You will observe when you eat healthy food, your mind is more quiet. And if you eat sugary food, oily food, spicy food, for most people, their minds become more agitated. There is a science to such changes. One more insight is, according to the Yoga Shastra, which is a science on healthy living, half of your stomach should be filled with solids. 1/4 should be filled with liquids. Liquids means water. Thanksgiving weekend, we know what liquid we're going to fill it up with. Water. And whenever I state this to younger people, then they're like, then 1/4 should be filled with gas. 1/4 should be empty. So that gas can be created, correct? That's good for us. So that solid and liquid should be mixed. So 1/4 empty. Your practice. Stay energized. Never allow yourself to feel hunger in the sense where what you're going to eat is going to be unhealthy. Stay energized. Because the more energy you have, the more enthusiasm you will have. And the more enthusiasm you have, the more empathy you will have, which is really what we want and need. Stay energized. Do not succumb to binge eating and being hangry and so on. To application, your application yesterday was to enjoy breathing. How many of you did this? See, a real celebration of Thanksgiving, any sense of thanks, is where you stop taking for granted. Those who fundamentally celebrated Thanksgiving, or are, they will ensure that they're going to be healthy. If you're healthy, you can seek with less impediment. Your application for today leading up until Monday, before every meal you have to eat a fresh, whole fruit. Before every meal, you have to eat a fresh, whole fruit. So if you go to a restaurant tonight, what's coming with you? A pear. And on and on and on, okay? Shanti, shanti, shanti. Be safe, be sound, be serene, be happiness.